Hi, welcome to my Flosstube. This is a channel about cross stitch, and I am Betsy, or Betselina Stitches, both here and on Instagram. And today we're going to talk about my 2026 dreams, goals, plans, whatever you want to call them. They may change midway through the year, so maybe dreams is a better uh, thing to call them. But yeah, I think um, you won't see many of my whips in person here, but I will put in some pictures and things so you know what I'm talking about. So I think my first big category of things that I want to do in 2026 is to work on my gift stitches. So that is Crocus in a Pot, which I would like to finish. Crocus in a Pot, I think, is at like 60% complete. We'll look at that. Crocus in a Pot is 64% complete. And it's not really that many stitches that I have remaining. It's like 2,500 stitches. So I think that should be easy to finish if I just like put the time into it. Um, so I definitely am like trying to put it into my games a little bit in different places. So if I am not working on it, at least it will be coming up in Monopoly or in WIPGO. So there is that one. My other gift stitch, or there's three of them. So the next one is the Delft sampler by Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. This one is uh, a sampler with Delft tiles, which are originally from Holland, and I have Dutch Indonesian heritage on my mom's side, and so wanted to create something that was just like reminded me of. I think we had them as like coasters at some point, but they were just like part of my thinking about Dutch culture growing up. And so my goal is to finish one row of the tiles and then determine whether I'm going to stop there and just make it like a wide, short piece, or if I'm going to make the whole sampler but put something different in the middle. Um, but yeah, my goal is to just at least get to that five. I think it's five tiles, and then I can make a decision. And if that's when I finish it, that's when I finish it, and that's totally fine. I'm sure, like, my mother is not going to notice that it should have been something else. So, um, but part of the reason it's taking me so much time is that it's a paper pattern and it has a lot of colors that are very similar to each other and a lot of backstitch. And the backstitch is absolutely required to even know what is happening in the piece. So um, it's just it just takes me a while. Like I finish the stitching on one of the tiles, and then it takes me a while to like get the motivation to do the backstitch part. Um, so hoping to get at least one row of tiles on that one. And then the third gift thing is Labrador Puppy. Um, and my goal on that one, it does have a ton of stitches. So my goal is to get to 25%. And I am currently at 15.3%. So to get to 25%, I need 1,557 more stitches. So I feel like that's a reasonable goal for this piece, and maybe once I get a little further into it, I'll be motivated to keep going and finish it. But it is like the biggest of these gift stitches, so the goal is just to get it to 25%. So the next big category of goals is stitchy games. So there's just been like lots of stitchy games on my brain lately, and I feel like it's helpful also. It's kind of like why I like getting those like box meal things, because it takes the like decision making out of it, and then I still get to, like, with the box meals, I get to like make something that I decided ahead of time sounded like a good thing for future Betsy. I think that's why I like these stitchy games too. So it's like, I want to work on all these things, but like it's a surprise what I get to work on, and that's kind of nice. But so first is obviously WIPGO. I'm still going to be doing 2 boards, which I will show you shortly. Then is Mylestönn Manor, which is Jessie Marie's new game. And I will talk a little bit about that. And then finally is Cross Stitch Monopoly, which I'm not going to explain a lot because I have talked about so many times before, but maybe in a future episode I'll make sure to show you like what my turns look like and things like that. Michelle Bundy often talks about it on her channel, and yeah, it's Cross Stitch Monopoly on Discord. So first, let's talk about. Oh, and also another potential game would be to do some kind of game related to the Winter Olympics, which are happening in February, or the World Cup, which is happening in June and July. And so I have been thinking about, like, is there some kind of bracket thing I want to do with the World Cup where like each team is represented by a WIP, and then as they get eliminated, the WIPs that are assigned to the winning teams get more stitches. But it's a lot of games, and it's not like there's a lot of time between games. I guess towards the end, when you get to the elimination, there's more time. But at the beginning, it's like there's 3 games going on at the same time, and two in a row that are overlapping. So we'll see. I gotta look at the schedule and figure it out. I haven't found anything that fully fits, but I think if I just assign like a rule about what to stitch and a WIP to each team, and I could start like later in the elimination, so then it wouldn't have to be like 25 WIPs. I can't remember how many people are in each. It might be like 40. Well, okay, let's think about this. So 2 teams from each group in the group stage is advance. So there's 4 teams in the group stage in each group, and then the next one is the round of 16. So it must be that you start with 32 teams. So yeah, I could start with the round of 16, um, and then there would be more time in between games, and also like I wouldn't be having to pay attention to like what was happening with every team of the 32 teams. Um, but yeah, so some kind of game. I love the World Cup, and it's in our time zone this time, so that'll make it easier for me to watch. Um, I can't always get a ton of stitching done while I'm watching, because soccer is just not a game that you can like look away from unless it's really boring, in which case it's not a great game anyway. So but yeah, so you might hear me talking about the World Cup when the World Cup is happening, but we'll see. So, um, starting with WIPGO, basically the way I designed my WIPGO this year is that I took my boards from last year and I took away everything I finished. And I think I also took away a couple things that were like not a finish. Like there was one that was like to design um, my Make It Murder cell, and I just like I tried to do that last year and this year, and it didn't work. So I'm taking that off of there. If I want to do it, I'll do it, but like it doesn't work for it to be one of these things. So and then there was like FFOs and there was some crochet stuff. So I took everything that like wasn't cross stitch off. Um, and I took off everything that I finished. And so then you'll see like this is what my holidays board looks like when I took off everything that I finished. So I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 things. So I I did this based on the end of December. So you'll see like Krampus and La Befana I have finished now, but I left them on the board, and I'll talk about that in a second. And so for the holidays board, I also moved the 2 Halloween things that I had on the other board to this board. Because this year my holidays board is going to be not only Christmas, but also like Halloween things because I love the spooky patterns and I feel like I care more about having those in progress than I do 25 Christmas ornaments. And then I added my Otis memorial piece and like things that are commemorating a day. So um, after dealing with only the squares that were empty and didn't get finished last year, I ended up with this. So you'll see I added Spellbound Stitches Volume 5, which is a bunch of designers that we all love, or that I love anyway. And they each did different bookmarks. And I was thinking one thing that I might want to do as a gift, either for birthdays or for Christmas, I'm not sure, would be to make a bookmark that's cross stitch, but then like give a person the book and the bookmark. So it's like a little thing for me, but also a book because I love to share books with people. Um, and I don't know if I talked about this before, but I also think like it might be good to remember that the year that I gave everyone a book, not everyone in that group um, is someone that reads a lot, and so I don't know if they've even like touched the books. I know one person hasn't, at least. So just like thinking more about like just because I think it's amazing doesn't mean it's the best thing for that person if they're not like devouring books like I am. So it's one of those things you have to do when you have special interests. Remember that not everyone cares about your special interests as much as you do. So yeah, so I added Spellbound Stitches. I added that in 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. So like whether that's working on a different bookmark or just like finishing the one I started on a different call, um, that is what I'm doing for those. I also added Halloween Quaker and Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, which were on my other board. Um, but now they're on the holidays board. And then I added the Otis memorial piece. Um, and I added Graveyard Guardian by Sprouting Lupine. And I added Witch's Night Out, which I've been meaning to start. That's by Blackberry Lane, I want to say, or Blackberry Ridge. I'll put it on the screen. and Bump in the Night by Prairie Schooler. So because those were some like spooky whips that I wanted to get started. Oh, and I added the last of the um, Christmas Monsters, which is Yule Cat by Lola Crow. So I still have um, I still have Krampus and La Befana on this board, but I have just marked them as done. And then if that number gets called, I will decide then if I'm going to like replace it with something else that's already on the board or just take a pass because I will have 4 WIPGO calls for every month again. And sometimes that just means like they don't all get done. Um, and then I have these are the 2 January calls. So Dead Inside but Still Festive. I got called, and With Love and a Little Help by Pansy Patch Quilts got called. So I finished this one, but I have not finished this one. And so that one's green and that one is purple. I had it as red, but that just felt negative. So I made it purple. um, so the other thing I want to do that's sort of part of this game, this board of WIPGO as well. But I want to make sure that I don't have more than 12 Christmas whips at any given time. And that seems good to me because I, 12 days of Christmas, and like also they're usually small. So it's okay if there's many of them, but it's just not 25 like last year because that was a little excessive, and then it doesn't leave room for any new things that I find that are interesting. So, um, yeah. So I actually ended up getting 2 below 12 whips by the process that I was doing over the last couple months, which is I was trying to finish ornaments, but also I was trying to work on things in the order closest to a finish for Mylestönn Manor, which I will talk about in my next section. Um, so now I have 10, plus I have one that's a plan star, which is Yule Cat. Um, but these are the 10 I have. Winter Celebration Small by Hello from Liz Matthews. Mari Lewid by Lola Crow. That's the third of the Christmas Monsters. With Love and a Little Help by Pansy Patch Quilts. Christmas Diary by Smart Cross Stitch. Peace on Earth by Hands On Design. Santa Over Toronto by Lindy Stitches. Santa Wreath by Teresa Kogut. And Dead Inside but Still Festive by The Witchy Stitcher. So I'm more than happy to work on those, even if I finished all of those. Sorry, even if I didn't finish all of those, I have like a few Christmas ornaments that I've finished since December that didn't get fully finished and sent to folks. So I have those in the wings if I need those for gifts next year. Um, but yeah, I mentioning the Santa Wreath by Teresa Koga, one of the things that I got at the Jingle Ball as a PDF was Teresa Koga's the like Midnight Santa uh stocking, and it's like I she always does very interesting different Santas, and I really like this one because he's wearing a black cloak with stars all over it and he's smoking a pipe, and it's just like not your typical like um Santa, and it it made me think honestly that it went well with my partner, and it was the only Santa I could see him liking. So, but I also really like it. It's like kind of dark and spooky Santa versus the like stereotypical American Santa. Um, so yeah, I would love to add that to this list. But plus, I have a couple things that I've kitted up that I haven't started. Um, so yeah, so with the holidays one not being all Christmas, and also with me having whipped down my Christmas ornaments a bit, I think this goal will be pretty easy to keep, but just something to remember if I'm like thinking about having new starts. Um, so then my second WIPGO board, I did the same thing. So this was the whips and starts board. So first I removed everything that was finished. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I also removed FFOs, Make It Murder, and Amigurumi. And so that added 3 more things. And then I moved Halloween Quaker and Halloween at Hawkrun Hollow to the other board. So this board started with the whole bottom row empty. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this board started with 10 empty spaces, but I kept the things that I hadn't finished that were on the board last year. And this is what I ended up with. So I added the 2025 night sky temperature chart. I think that that was one of the ones that got removed because it was the 2024 one and it was done. But I would like to finish that. I bought the shaded stitchery, like much more simple um, temperature chart where it's only like, I don't know, 3 stitches for each temperature, like one for the high and one for the low. But in general, like it becomes a small pillow. It's not huge. And I like that because it just sounds like more meditative to just like, I just do a couple colors and then I can sort of see the range of colors, and it's cool. I don't have time for more stitch alongs, as you will see going on in the future. So I added that one, and then I added the seventh wave, which I've been meaning to start by Long Dog Samplers. Um, I added Home Sweet Home by Counting Puddles, which I really would wanted to start. Um, I added For the 13, which is like sometimes a free space. I usually just make it like a smaller one. But so I put the Ruth Bader Ginsburg small kit that my partner got me for my birthday or Christmas last year, um, because it's small and it won't feel like a huge deal. Um, and then I added uh, an ode to libraries by Heartstring Samplery, which I've been meaning to start. Um, I added my Heaven and Earth Designs piece because that always needs an excuse to get called on. Um, I added Pigeon and Puddle by the Blue Flower. And I brought in this Bees Got Knees, which is like it's not a biscornu, but it's like that kind of thing. It's like a cube mattress finish, um, to uh, that I started at the Spring Mingle, and but I really like only worked on it that one day. And then I also added Data Portraits in Paris Part 2 by the Shaded Stitchery, which starts in February. And that is one of the stitch alongs I'm doing. So, um, most of these are whips, but there are a few new ones. And so that is, I believe this board was similar last year. Like there was some new starts, but it was like half whips. Um, and so the two that were called already are Gay Agenda and this Juneteenth Day. I've already finished Gay Agenda and I'm still working on this Juneteenth Day. Um, so, um, based on my WIPGO board, um, I have 12 planned starts for the year. And then two, like, maybe I will be starting, but I don't know. Um, so here's that list again. It's Home Sweet Home by Counting Puddles, The Seventh Wave by Long Duck Samplers, Pigeon and Puddle by The Blue Flower, An Ode to Libraries by Heartstring Samplery, Ruth Bader Ginsburg Small Kit, um, Graveyard Guardian, Spellbound Stitches by a variety of people. It's volume 5 though. There were previous ones. I'm doing the most recent one. Graveyard Guardian by Sprouting Lupine. Who by Maroomy Designs, which is a Halloween small that was in one of the Just Cross Stitch magazines, I think. Yule Cat by Lola Crow, Witch's Night Out by Blackberry Lane Designs, Bump in the Night by Prairie Schooler, Data Portraits in Paris Part 2 by Shaded Stitchery, and then I added these two at the bottom, A Study in Nature, which I have everything for, by the Artsy Housewife, and then whether or not I'm going to participate in the Lola Crow stitch along, I'm not sure, but I could potentially also, if I am not that into the current stitch along, I could start Greenhouse of Oddities, but just do it at the same time. So we'll see. This already feels like way too much, but it's just dreams, right? It doesn't need to be a plan or a goal. It could just be a dream. um, yeah. And then Mylestönn Manor is a new game by Jessie Marie Does Stuff. And it is like uh, you have a floor plan and your little character moves from room to room and has to do things depending on what room they're in. So you design a floor plan and you assign whips to each of the rooms, and then your little character can move through the house to do different, to work on different whips, or like it's basically like if you went into this room and you have to beat this boss, and then um, your character is able to get damage and experience points, and the whip in each room is able to do that as well, and you're like rolling dice to see how many stitches, and then once you do your stitches you see if you've met any of your milestones that you've said already, um, and that's how you get experience points or hit points. um, so I am trying this out. I'm trying to track it on Notion, but I'm not really that into my system for tracking it on Notion. So I might switch to a different system, or I think Nati is working on um, another template that would work for this game. Um, so in order to take away the decision fatigue, I am just using the floor plan that Jess Marie provided, because there's already so many other decisions to make. Um, so I have placed my whips in these different rooms, and then each one has been assigned different milestones. And um, I'm currently on my fourth turn. Um, but the entryway is a place that you return to a lot, and so she said to put something there that you want to work on a lot. And so I put the full coverage fairy tale by Heaven and Earth Designs on there. So anytime that I'm in the entryway, I have to go back to working on that whip. And so my first turn was that whip. And then I went into the Xmas room, which is the office there. And in that room, you have to, well, I have to work on my Christmas whips in order of closest to a finish. So the second turn, I did that, and that's when I finished Krampus and Krampus and La Befana. And yeah, and then once my turn was over in that room, I had to go back out into the entryway because that's the only place you can go based on where the doors are. And so I worked on Fairy Tale again, and that one wasn't very many stitches, so it went really fast. So then I took my next turn and I got like 1,600 stitches on Ars Robotica because I went into that room, the dining room. So I'm still working on that, and it has no deadline. Like, I'm playing this game by myself, so it doesn't matter how long it takes. I just won't take another turn until I finish that one. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I think like because of the way she has the dice rolls set up, the total amount that you owe is pretty high a lot of the time, but there's no timeline because you're just playing yourself. So I tried to put like things with the most amount of stitches in. So you'll see like all of these you've seen me stitch on, but um, like they're all the ones that have the most stitches, I think. So Winterface has a ton of stitches and it's kind of boring. So I feel like if I had to stitch 1,000 stitches on that in a row, it would be good because then I would like feel like okay, I've accomplished something on that one for even for this year. So so like I said, that one is going to be very like whenever I feel like doing it, I just can't take another turn until I finish doing the turn. Um, so, and then Cross Stitch Monopoly, like, technically doesn't have time limits. I mean, you have to at least, like, check in and say, like, I'm still here, but if your turn takes you, like, a week, that's fine. And sometimes you can still be working on your turn while the other players go. It depends on what kind of action is required of you when you land on the spot in Cross Stitch Monopoly. Um, but you're motivated because other people can't go until your turn is over sometimes. Um, so I feel like the different, like WIPGO is just finish it by the end of the month. Cross Stitch Monopoly is like finish it so it doesn't annoy other people that you're not finishing it. And Mylestönn Manor is like finish it whenever, just don't move on until you finish it. And yeah, so I think those are good like categories of goals for me. Um, so that is that one. And then I'm participating in several stitch alongs. Basically, like the ones that are definitely 2026 are the Heaven and Earth stitch along, which goes from December 27th to December 30th of next year or of this year. sorry. It started at the December of 2025. And then Data Portraits in Paris, which is about to start. That is like a additional, like a second sampler of things related to the first data on African Americans in the US that was ever presented in 1900 at the Paris World Fair. So I did the first one. It's actually behind me. But there's a second one, and I just loved it. It's like data visualization and stitching and like historical, like it's lovely. And her designs are always lovely also. So looking forward to doing that one. That one is only February through June with a drop every week, I think. So we'll see if I can keep up. Then I'm doing the 4-year leap year sal on Ars Robotica. So I have some goals for that, which mainly just to like finish 50% by the end of February and then like make some progress for the rest of the year to get closer to 75% for following February. And then, like I said before, I'm not sure if I'm going to do a Lola Crow stitch along this year. I love the patterns. Like, I'm so just in awe of her design skills with like the size and like amount of colors that she can do given the size of the patterns. Like, still just like doing wonderful things with like tone and shadow and color. Um, so I probably will decide that I want to start it, but I also had the idea that I could start Greenhouse of Oddities if I wasn't that into this one. Um, and then there might be a stitching game that either I create or I follow someone else's related to the World Cup. And that's in June to July. Lola Crow is usually April through August or like maybe September. Um, and then I also have these 3 unfinished stitch alongs, which is the temperature chart, the Hoovian stitch along that I started a year after that I thought I was starting, and Extraordinary Birds, which I haven't finished. Um, so I don't know like how well I'm going to keep up with all of these, but I do like a stitch along because I like to interact with other people and like talk about stitching, and so I'm always tempted. Um, but um, but yeah. So if you are doing any of these, definitely reach out. Let me know what you're working on. Like I um really enjoy talking about stitch alongs. Um, and then I also just like set it up by season because I wanted to see like, am I like suggesting that I do 6 stitch alongs at the exact same time or things like that. I think both of the last 2 years, I've had about like 6 or 7 months where I was doing 2 different stitch alongs at the same time, or maybe even 3 at one point because Stitch for Pride, and then there were 2 other ones that like overlapped, and that's sometimes too much. So yeah. So I just wanted to look like if I'm looking at the quarters of the year or roughly seasons, like in the winter, I'm starting the Heaven and Earth Design full coverage. I'm starting data portraits. The Winter Olympics are happening, so I may or may not do something related to the Winter Olympics. I want to get Ars Robotica to 50%. And like if I could finish the Crocus in a pot, that would be great because I could send it before it was spring to the person that it's for, and it's a crocus, so that would be a good time. But yeah, who knows if I will be able to do that. And then in the spring, I plan to finish Data Portraits 2. The World Cup starts in June, and I want to keep working on the Heaven and Earth designs, and then maybe start the Lola Crow stitch along. So again, that seems like a lot, so maybe not. Um, but and then summer, the World Cup ends. I'm continuing to work on Fairy Tale. Hopefully, I can finish a row of Delft tiles, and then I could give that one to my mother for her birthday. Um, and maybe finishing a Lola Crow. So yeah, this seems like a lot. um, and then fall, I would want to be planning and finishing gifts. Maybe do a holiday stitch along or an Advent knit along. And continue working on Fairy Tale. So that one seems okay. Like if I'm planning and finishing gifts and like maybe a stitch along is seems like a good amount. But these other seasons, who knows? I think I'm gonna get done with the Ars Robotica one because of this Mylestönn Manor turn, but uh, doing another stitch along WIPGO and finishing my Crocus seems like a lot. Um, so those are my 2026 goals and plans. Um, I'm super interested in everyone's goals and plans this year. So if you feel like writing in the comments, like, what are you planning? I would love to hear. Um, but this is my dreams for doing cross stitch in 2026. So I'll see you next time. Bye.